from my time. Oh,
No worries.
oops. Okay. I don't need to tell my woes on the recording.
No worries. We can
Please
chat
don't.
after.
Well, Bob's already
We'll have
heard
to do
it.
it.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll save that for after.
Yeah.
So, welcome to the Mediacurrent Contrib Half-Hour. It is just over halfway through August, year of our cat 2023. Today we're going to take a look at the Synonyms module. Synonyms module. Kicking us off with housekeeping, I'm your host, Damien McKenna. I've been involved in the Drupal community since 2007, do a bunch of stuff, but people recognize me as that guy with the bunny ears who hops around issue queues. My time is sponsored by Mediacurrent. We're an open source product agency, and our commitment to open source goes beyond software. Next week, we'll loop back again to look at the ongoing saga to upgrade a simple site from Drupal 7 to Drupal 10. On the 31st, we'll have a general news issues and Q&A chat. No meeting on September 7th. I'm taking some vacation. And not sure what I'm going to be doing that day, but I am going to take the family to the beach for a few days. Then we'll be back again on September 14th with yet more on the saga of upgrading a Drupal 7 site. One idea I had to make the meetings a little, or flow a little better and get to more of the meat of the issue is on weeks where we look at the migration stuff, we'll skip news things unless there's something urgent, and we can just pick those up, those news items up on the following week. So, speaking of news, no security updates this week. So, extra time to get your sites updated to the latest and greatest core releases. Speaking of which, we haven't had a core release in a couple of weeks, so the latest are 10.1.2. If you're fully up to date, 10.0.10 and 9.5.10 if you have not upgraded to the complete latest and greatest. And if you're on D7, 7.98. There were a couple of interesting changes in core this past week. One of them just landed today or yesterday, within the last few days. It was a change in in CK Editor 5 and how prior to CK Editor 5, so in CK Editor 4, you could, if you wanted to insert an icon, as was common when people are using the Font Awesome icon library, it would insert this empty span or I tag into the body text, and it had some classes to indicate which icon to display. The problem was CK Editor 5 didn't let you do that. If it came across an empty inline tag, it would just yank it out because, well, there's no need for that, right? Except for situations where there were. So that change has actually gone into 10.1. So I expect that to be in the next 10.1 patch release here, and who knows when. Hopefully fairly soon. There's a new config schema data type added, a required label field, or data type rather. So that'll help with locking down configuration schema for your modules and everything. One of the minor pain points that everybody runs into is when you're trying to support a new version of an API and an old version of an API at the same time, you'd have to either drop the old one and keep the new one, or come up with some sort of logic to see if a certain class is available or certain method is available. And it got a little fiddly at times. So there's a new helper method and whole helper class added to 10.2 to make it easier to do in the future. Of course, you have to get to 10.2 and able to be able, or in order to be able to use it. But once you do, going forwards, it should be easier to deal with. And I think that that's going to come up sooner rather than later, because Drupal 9 will no longer have support as of November this year, at which point Contrib maintainers can kind of officially drop support for Drupal 9, unless yes, modules and themes, Damien, can't forget the themes, unless you specifically are able to run the same code in both without any API problems. But at that point, you will have some stuff to make things easier. As always, keep track of the latest on drupal.org/list-changes. Lots of events coming up. I expanded this list for September and the rest of the year from drupal.org/community/events. Actually, a ton of stuff going on in September. So decoupled days, not decoupled dev days, muscle memory, is going on as we speak. Hope Marky and everybody are having a fantastic time. I'm sure you are. So in September, there's Evolve Drupal in Toronto, September 5th through 8th. Drupal Camp Atlanta, September 7th through 9th. Twin Cities Drupal Camp, 14th and 15th. Drupal Day Portugal, September 15th. Drupal Camp Spain, September 21st to 24th. So you could go hit Portugal for a day and then pop over to Drupal Camp Spain. Then not much going on in October, but then in November, there is Drupal GovCon back again on November 1st and 2nd, and NedCamp on the 17th and 18th. Lots of good stuff going on there. Anybody have anything they'd like to share? All right, well, let's move on with today's main topic, which is the synonyms module. And as you might remember, a synonym is, per dictionary.com, a word having the same or nearly the same meaning as another word in the same language. So it doesn't cross language barriers, but it's for when you're not just happy, you're joyful or elated, but when you want to clarify that feeling blue might be that you're feeling sad, or you might just be talking about the color color navy. It also has to do with how in the financial industry, the phrase Wall Street is used as a synonym of the US financial market. It's not that everything happens on Wall Street and Wall Street only, or that the US financial market is called Wall Street. It's just a phrase that is used in place of the intended phrase. So the synonyms module has been around for a while. I don't think it gets used as much as it should, because I think it's a really useful module. And it lets you store synonyms of one word in a field on another, or in a field on the parent item. And the synonyms module itself has tons of integration with different parts of the Drupal ecosystem. So it works with Field API on all entities. It works with core search. It works with Search API. It has multiple field formatters, but we'll see that in a few moments. The common scenario or an example scenario would be if you wanted to have a vocabulary for colors, but say wanted people to be able to search for variations of that color, where you're not, say, you're not specifically listing items off of the color puce, but if somebody searches for puce, you want to direct them to red. Or if somebody searches for aquamarine, you want to direct them to green. That kind of thing. So the idea is that you'd set up a vocabulary, add a field on the vocabulary for listing the synonyms. Then the idea is that the terms in that vocabulary would be the primary colors that you are listing. Say you're doing colors for products, socks, or whatever. And then when it's fully set up, the idea is that if somebody searches for one of the synonyms, it will match that to the parent word, and so show all of the matches off of the parent word without having to do any extra work. The setup is a little fiddly, but we'll get into it. There are a number of submodules you have to install. You have to add the field, then you have to configure the piece that stores the synonym. You have to tell the synonyms ecosystem or subsystem which field is the synonym stored in, and then you have to set up different field widgets in the API so that internally it can route everything properly. And then you have to update the field widgets and add a thing to the Search API configuration for our example. There is one limitation that I feel is a little critical. It would be absolutely useful, or it would be absolutely incredible, I think, if you could use this where you have a tagging category or vocabulary where people can enter new tags and standard tagging stuff. You're writing an article, you're filling in tags. Sometimes you're adding a new tag, but you can end up with situations where you end up with tons and tons of different tags in your vocabulary that mean the same thing. Somebody enters a tag for mango, somebody enters another tag for mangoes, somebody enters another tag for Alfonso, which is a type of mango, and on and on and on, instead of just directing everybody to the single term mango. So problem is that it doesn't work with synonyms. So if you set up the autocomplete field, which we'll see in a minute, it doesn't let you add a new synonym at the moment. So it can only work off of the tags that are already in the database or in the system, which is definitely a major limitation. It's something that has come up myself on a project, and I'm starting to work on that. Tangentially, I ran into a bug where if you set up the autocomplete field, it was not limiting the values that were filled in to only the items that were in the vocabulary already, meaning you would think I'm putting in tags as normal. Here's a new tag name, and you hit save. Only problem was it wasn't actually saving that value you filled in as a new tag. It was inadvertently picking the first item in the matching vocabulary and saving that instead. It didn't give you an error saying, that's not a matching tag. I don't know what to do with it. It just grabbed the first thing it could find. And that led to editorial problems, people not being able to use their vocabulary the way they wanted. Lots of well, a couple of bad hours. So turned it off and worked out it was a bug. And so in the meantime, going to be trying to add that tag functionality. So let's take a look at it. Can work out how to turn off full screen. There we go. Oh, I signed out. I'm not worried about that right now. So here's a synonyms module, drupal.org/project/synonyms. Here's an example Drupal 10.1 site. I've downloaded the synonyms module. I've got search API set up. I've got the standard Drupal core install built so that I've got kind of a base ground to work with. Let's go pick up or install the synonyms module. So we need the synonyms module to start with. Let's install that so we see what we get. As mentioned, it includes a number of submodules depending on what exactly you want to do with it. Lots of pieces for synonym. Lots of submodules for working with views for different scenarios. But for this case, we're just going to keep it simple. So it has its own configuration piece, and it works with all standard content entities, which is really useful. So what we want to do is we're going to work off of the example I said. We're going to have a colors vocabulary, and we're going to set up a synonym field on that to have similar colors. So let's first of all create a vocabulary called colors. And simple enough. Let's say very basic red, term, green, and blue. Or GB. Not dealing with CMYK today. They're paint colors. There we go. So we have our colors vocabulary with red, green, and blue. So if we go back to the synonyms config page, it has a vocabulary available to set up for the entity type, taxonomy term, and bundle type colors. First thing we have to do is set up what field stores the synonyms. And you do that by adding a provider. And this is the field that stores the synonym values. Right now I don't have one. I want to set it up. So I'm going to add a field, create new field. It's just going to be a text field plain. I'm just going to call it synonyms for ease of use. To change it from synonyms plural to synonym with S in brackets because it's optional. Not going to worry about a default value. Let's add some help text real quick. Other words that will match this term. So if we go back to the add provider page, now let me see. I have to reload it. Okay, So go back to manage providers, add provider. Oh, did I miss something? I might need a submodule. Do. Ah, I think I need the list field first. So there is a number of, or there are a number of sub pages in the documentation where the maintainers have tried to explain how it all works. And basic usage. Forget if it's this page that explains stepping through, add terms, etc. List field. So go back to here. Ah, yes. So need to install the list field in order to load values off a field. I guess there may be scenarios where you don't. I'm not sure. So that field has been added. The next bit is, so that will store or make sure the values are stored and available in the system for synonym, but now we need to update the vocabulary so that when somebody is adding a term, oh wait, no, let's fill out our example here real quick. So we're going to, on our real quick, add products as a content type. It makes sense that products would have a field for referencing the color. So let's say color is a reference to taxonomy terms, and it just allows one color, and it's going to use the vocabularies color. So, all right, we have a product. So now when we are adding a product item, let's say water bottle, and we want to say what color we're using. Let's go to form display, and we want to, instead of doing autocomplete, let's do select. Hit save. So now we get a list of colors. All right, so on our terms, we have those. So for our colors, let's set up a couple of quick synonyms. For blue, let's add, oh, wait. I think I forgot to set synonyms to allow unlimited values. Yes, I did. So in this scenario, we want to have unlimited values. Hopefully that doesn't cause any oddities. But because on our synonyms, we want to have multiple synonyms. We want to say navy as a synonym. Similar words to navy. What was the example I had? Barrel? Anyway, on and on. So if somebody searches for navy water bottles, they'll get the blue one. Simple enough. So for that to work, what we need to do is go to the synonyms page, and we have the provider set up, but we now need to manage the behaviors. Don't have a behavior set up, so we need to install another module. Synonym select widget. And let's do autocomplete widget as well. So it hits install. And it's going to install those real quick. So I'm going to use the select service. Let's do autocomplete as well, just for completeness sake. But the idea is we now have to set up it doesn't work. It doesn't modify the existing field formatter. If we reload the page, it's still there. What we need to do is change the field formatter, or sorry, field widget. So instead of just select list, it's synonyms friendly select list. Now we open up the form. It shows both our main items, but also synonyms. So navy is a synonym of blue, beryl is a synonym of blue, red and green. And so then the idea is that if we set it as navy, not even navy, water bottle, this is a blue-ish water bottle. We selected navy as the synonym, but it found the water, it selected, or it saved the color blue. Then in the one last piece to make this all fit together is we need to add a field in the Search API settings for the synonyms field. Synonyms. Click add there and then done. Synonyms list is this. We need to set that to full text. Then hit save. And then we need to re-index the content. Index now. So the idea is, if we go to, I forget what the search page URL is. Search content. Here we go. So now in here, if we do a search for navy, the idea is that I'm on the wrong view. I might be in the wrong view. Hold on a second. Index default. So the old issue with Search API integration, you have to tell it to search all of the fields, search fields, synonyms list, by save. Now if we go back to search theory, now it should show the result. It didn't. I missed something, but fortunately ran out of time. We'll have to pick this up again next time on our news issues and Q&A meeting. We'll do a follow-up on this because clearly I missed some bit somewhere. But it's almost there. Hope that was helpful. We will be back again next week with another look at our Drupal 7 to Drupal 10 migration. Until then, hope everybody has a fantastic week, and thank you for joining us. Take care.
Thank you very much, Damon.
Damon.